And it is a disease that is often fatal, a disease that is spread by illegal weapons and illegal gun sales. In this Fox Undercover special, we'll show you how the gun underground infects the streets. A backpack slung over his shoulder. A tall, thin 20-year-old follows an illegal gun dealer through an underground garage in Encino.
One person just barely knows about things. I understand.
The storeroom door is unlocked.
Welcome to the pit. What are you looking at?
All we know is a young gun buyer involved in some kind of dispute is interested in purchasing a weapon for protection.
I'm looking for a killing machine, man. I'm looking for a stop. You just want to knock down a man. Yeah.
The crooked dealer, a family friend in his early 20s, says he has just what the customer needs.
Carry it on your person. American-made Colt 45, strong. I will knock a fat man weighs 240 right at you, pissed off as hell, right to the damn ground. That's nice.
It has a 15-round clip and sells for $350, underground price. But the buyer wants more guns.
So what if I need a little bit more? I need 30 people, 40 people. Come on, 30, 40 people. You want something bigger? Nice.
And seconds later,
I got one other thing, and it's this.
The dealer pulls out something bigger.
This is like an M1 carbine.
It's called an Intra-Tech 9.
Now this right here is a 30-round magazine. 30 rounds means 30 people.
On the street, it is known simply as a Tech 9.
Like that, you pull the trigger. This is fully automatic equipped. So meaning we went in the trigger housing, adapted it, it was semi-automatic, one at a time, it was going 1, 2, 3. Now it's boom.
Not only is it illegal to convert a weapon to fully automatic use, the Tech 9, even as semi-automatic, has been banned for sale in the U.S. The dealer also takes an order for a bulletproof vest.
Not a problem at all.
Moments later, the young buyer pulls out a wad of cash and peels off 5 crisp $100 bills to complete this underground arms transaction.
Oh, this is gonna be one for this. Are you sure? 100 used.
Then he walks off with his new Tech 9 submachine gun packed in a case. An illegal gun, illegally purchased.
Hey, homie, I got something for all you sissies out there.
Here on the street, Southern California law enforcement agents confiscate as many as 40,000 weapons every year.
What's up?
1 out of 5 are linked to a violent crime. And ATF agent Jay Wachtel says there's much more firepower than ever before.
The lethality of the handgun, the lethality of the kind of gun that the police typically run across has dramatically increased.
Wachtel says the average gun found on the street today has 4 to 10 times more killing power than a decade ago.
Cop killer!
Federal research identifies the 9mm handgun as the current gun of choice.
This is what they get. Blah.
It is followed in popularity by the shotgun, often sawed off, and then the military-style automatic and semi-automatic rifles. This young racketeer in Chinatown, who has a large collection of guns, says it is easy to buy them on the street.
A handgun or a shotgun or a rifle, anyone who knows anyone can really get a gun. It's quite a common thing to get.
Straight to the heart.
This display at a school ditch party in Highland Park seems to confirm Justice Department statistics that 1 out of 3 young males in the inner city regularly or occasionally carries a gun.
Everybody wants one right now, so...
This South Central teen, here in his home with a shotgun, a 9mm pistol, and a .38, says he bought the weapons after school from some dude selling them out of a van.
You don't really care if it's burned or not, you just want one. If you have to use it, you have to use it, and that's it. Just to protect myself, if something happens,
There is some government research supporting the contention that young people in the inner city are primarily buying guns for protection.
These streets out here are hard. You just gotta understand that.
A need to arm themselves against enemies.
Everywhere you go, it's gonna be some gangbangers. Watch out.
These South Central gang members explain it this way.
That's why you gotta have a strap, so when somebody roll up on you, gotta take care of your business, so they'll take care of you.
So, in this atmosphere, the underground gun market continues to flourish.
Just hit that. Just go like that. Boom. Yeah. And you're very nice. Taking this beautiful weapon.
ATF agent J. Watchtell says the misuse of firearms is like a disease.
There. Boom. Then it fires. Okay? Now look, if you want more, you let me know.
Federal firearms agents say even if you have a small number of corrupt dealers, the potential for damage is phenomenal. But even without corrupt dealers, many illegal guns start out as legal traffic and still make their way into the hands of the bad guys. We'll have that story tomorrow.
So the bad guys and gang members, we can see where they get the guns from these underground dealers. Where do these dealers get the guns?
Well, the most likely way is they call a straw man, which we'll get in tomorrow, which is basically a guy with a clean record going into a normal gun store and buying a gun or a number of guns and then going out and selling them to the bad guys.
A 19-year-old counts out a fistful of cash.
See the strap?
Then pulls a 9mm pistol from under his shirt and hands it to the 23-year-old who just bought it.
Should work, you.
The gun seller opts for a quick demonstration on the lawn of an upscale Mission Viejo home. There is deadly gunfire.
Here, homie. Get those.
And another underground gun deal goes down.
You like that?
Sold outside the law and part of a large informal street market that requires no name or identification to buy a gun. ATF agent J. Watchtell says the black market gun becomes an immediate threat.
That gun is very likely to be acquired by someone who is then likely to misuse it. And that's why I call those guns walking time bombs.
This 9mm Coleco was one of those time bombs. And when it went off, it killed. The weapon belonged to Ian Duncan, a 19-year-old heroin addict and illegal gun dealer from the San Fernando Valley. His setup shows how easily many guns fall into the wrong hands. Detective Tom Linehan says Duncan had a fake gun dealer's license.
His mother had a federal firearms license, and what he would do is he would have his mother buy guns for him. And he had concocted a phony corporation called Lancaster Firearms.
Operating out of this North Hills home where he lived with a friend, Ian supplied guns to 17-year-old Justin Zaitzoff, the son of a well-to-do Century City attorney and former Malibu City Councilwoman. Detectives say Zaitzoff was a cocky former surfer who referred to himself as Little Capone, hooked up with gang members, and in turn resold the guns he got from Duncan.
They were selling them for profit. I think they didn't care who they sold them to.
And evidence shows Zaitzoff sold 40 to 50 guns a month, primarily to members of a violent street gang in South Central Los Angeles called the Rolling 40s. That is, until Duncan felt Zaitzoff cheated him in a deal. Referring to Zaitzoff as a two-bit hood and a punk, Duncan asked him here to his North Hills home to pick up some more guns. Meanwhile, he recruited a street guy named Sonny DeJesus to murder Zaitzoff. Duncan paid him $100 and a free gun to do the hit. DeJesus used Duncan's fancy calico to do the job. Then they stuffed Zaitzoff's body into the trunk of his BMW and dumped it at the gates of the Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. Duncan and DeJesus were quickly arrested, convicted for murder, and are now serving life in prison without parole. Gun dealing was over for Duncan and Zaitzoff. But during the next few years, police traced 90 Duncan Zaitzoff guns and linked at least 37 of them to crimes committed throughout Los Angeles, including 2 murders, 1 attempted murder, 1 kidnapping, 6 armed robberies, and 5 drug deals. And nearly 3 years after Zaitzoff's murder, cops mobilized when one of the Duncan Zaitzoff guns resurfaced here at a seedy Hollywood motel. It was found in the hands of 26-year-old Manuel Perez, known on the street as White Dude, a convicted felon, drug dealer, and member of a notorious street gang called White Fence. He had used the gun to kill a police officer. 33-year-old Charles Heim, an 11-year LAPD veteran, was shot down when he walked up to an apartment unit where white dude was selling drugs. Several years after the Duncan Zaitzoff guns were illegally sold on the street, one of their weapons buried a good cop who left behind a pregnant wife and 10-year-old son. It was another walking time bomb that exploded.
Now that person that got killed with a gun, that was a dead person for 3 years, except they didn't know it.
See the strap?
The gun underground continues to live as it continues to kill.
And the Duncan Zaitzoff guns are just a small example of the thousands of illegal weapons on the streets of LA that leave a chain of devastation. In yet another case, agents say it was an illegally sold gun that a gang member recently used to kill yet another LAPD officer, Mario Navidad. Tomorrow, a look at what is called the straw man dealer and his role in the gun underground.
This MAC-10 submachine gun can put out 30 deadly rounds in a matter of seconds. This Israeli-made Uzi can spray a hillside with lead in less time it takes to light a cigarette. And like this AK-47 military rifle, bullets from these weapons cut through a metal plate
100 times thicker than a car door.
like a hot knife through butter. All these banned military-type automatic weapons just fired here at the Long Beach Police Range, including this M16, were taken off the streets from some crook who used them to commit a crime. And Range Master Ed Davenport explains the weapons were all designed with one purpose in mind.
Incapacitate and kill. Pure and simple.
Similar weapons were used by two bank robbers in this headline-grabbing shootout with LAPD last February in North Hollywood.
They call them Tech 9s on the street.
Crooks can easily buy banned automatic weapons, such as this Tech 9 submachine gun, from underground dealers like this one caught on a Fox Undercover camera in Encino. But law enforcement agents say about 80% of the confiscated weapons that end up in the hands of criminals are handguns that start out as legal purchases from legitimate dealers. ATF agent Jay Wachtel calls it a straw man purchase.
A straw man transaction is where a person who has no criminal record, who probably has valid identification, goes into a gun store and buys a gun on behalf of someone else.
A straw man every week can legally buy 1 to 100 guns or even more. Then on the street, he sells them to criminals at a markup of 100 to 300% over retail. And the criminal still loves to buy from the straw man.
You don't have to give your name. You don't have to show your driver's license. You just walk away with a gun that is supposedly untraceable to you.
The straw man knows even if he is caught, his crime is only punishable as a misdemeanor.
It's a Soviet SKS assault rifle.
And this is how easily a straw man purchase can be done.
It has a 10-round magazine. You can put a 30-round banana clip in there.
Here at an Orange County gun store,
All ready to go.
a Fox News producer picks a Soviet-made assault rifle off the shelf,
You have a California ID?
shows a driver's license, fills out some paperwork, pays $289 for the SKS, an extra 30-round magazine, and a box of ammunition, and walks out with the new assault rifle just minutes later. Security consultant and gun collector Roger Hawks, who accompanied us, calls it alarming and frightening.
This is a weapon that was manufactured by the Soviet Army to use in war. And that's the purpose of this. It's used for killing people. And the type of ammunition it uses, it's a full metal jacket military round. And that's one of the things I don't understand about it, is why these are available so easily.
Here at the Long Beach Police Range, our new SKS pulverizes concrete. In fact, the SKS is almost a twin of the better-known AK-47. This one was manufactured in 1993, but is sold as an antique with no 14-day waiting period. And if we were a straw man buyer, we could easily resell our SKS to a crook for a healthy profit. Here in South Los Angeles 3 weeks ago, an SKS rigged with an illegal 60-round magazine was laying in the street next to its owner, 26-year-old Daryl Hawkins of Gardena. 2 LAPD traffic officers say Hawkins was shot when he came at them with the SKS after crashing his car into a light pole at the end of a high-speed chase. Detectives say Hawkins' SKS is a stolen gun, one that easily could have been picked up on the black market. And 2 weeks ago in South Los Angeles, when parole officers caught up with Crip gang member Henry Washington, a known robber and drug dealer, in addition to a stash of crack cocaine and marijuana,
Russian-made SKS.
officers found an SKS assault rifle next to Washington's bed.
About a 30-round magazine.
Detectives say there is no record on file showing where this SKS was purchased and believe Washington could have bought it on the underground market.
They begin legally with a straw person, someone recruited by a gang.
Meanwhile, here in Sacramento, West LA Assemblyman Wally Knox is pushing 2 new laws to try to crush the straw man.
If we're going to control violence in our streets, we have to control weapons in our streets. If we're going to control weapons in our streets, we must begin to restrict in some way the number of purchases made by people who are simply going out to the street and selling it to criminal enterprises.
Okay. And these are brand new out of a box, huh?
The Knox proposal would stop any Californian from buying more than 1 gun a month, with the exception of police and collectors. It would also allow prosecutors to charge those caught straw purchasing a gun with a felony instead of a misdemeanor. Knox is hopeful his bill would slow the flow of dangerous weapons into the hands of criminals.
As a footnote to this story, LA City Councilman Mike Fuhr says more people in California under the age of 25 die from guns than from automobile accidents, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and other health-related problems all combined.